Max Morrow. New entry alert, right? This is a great question from the title of this video that we're about to break down right now, right? Anarchism. Is a world without rulers possible? Golly. Yo, who the hell was you waiting on to ask that question before you asked it? Goddamn, you know what I'm saying? Yo, shout out Max Morrow for this one, man. Anarchism. Anarchism. I don't even know what to call it, man, because to be frank with you, I didn't even know what the definition of the word was, right? So all I had for this intro was the definition, right? Textbook definition. Anarchy is a state of disorder due to absence or non-recognition of authority or other controlling systems. Now, you know, living in the world that we live in, right, as time goes, I feel like it might just be possible, you know what I'm saying? A world without any authoritative input might just be possible, but then it's like, yo, what is the world finna look like beyond that, right? Right? Let's see.
We can't go back to beginning. This existential crisis, the reason I cannot keep competing and keep on living. So it's back against the world, seeing all your value once you dealt with all the dirt. Backing up slowly from these diamonds and pearls, quote unquote. Fat lady sings, I see the writing on the walls. Back to the scene cause it was pride before the fall, and now it's just over.
What's good? What's good? What's good with it? Good to see you. That was actually, look, I'm gonna introduce something new, right? I'm gonna introduce the what shall I call it? The snapshot of the snapshot of the mood, right? Like the snapshot, just the face, a snapshot of my, like an expression, a meme of how I'm feeling, because I hope you feeling cool, right? Or of how things are on my side. I'm just gonna give you a facial expression. That was it. That's it. That's it right there. That was it right there. You know what I'm saying? Go figure. Go figure. I don't know, man. You know, I be bored as shit when I be at work, bruh. You know what I'm saying? So it gives me time to be thinking about probably, you know, ideas of what to implement. You know what I'm saying? When I be going live and stuff, I think I need my little, you know what I mean? Just moisturize. My fault. I know to some of y'all this might be rude doing it in front of y'all, you know what I'm saying? This is damn near SE actual act. just over. That's saying. Gotta stay moisturize, man. But yeah, oh my fault, gang, damn. I ain't even introduced nothing. I was just excited to see you though. You feel me? Anarchism, right? That's what we're looking at. Is a world without rulers possible? Wrong. The reason why I coined this channel Dark Mode Reactions, right, is because I want to focus more on maybe subconscious kind of activities that us as humans be on and are not necessarily aware of. You know what I'm saying? That could possibly lead to just like collectives of human effects on nature. You understand what I'm saying? That might just like give us possible, you know, outcomes of reality, so to speak. Outcomes in nature of reality, right? Outcomes in nature. So we all are, you know what I'm saying, are subconscious, or let our subconscious aspects lead us as a collective. What kind of realities are we faced with? That's the kind of reactions I want to take a look into, because I know a whole lot of people are not into, you know, the dark mode, you know what I'm saying, the shadow aspects of society. Let me call it that. And I do feel like anarchism might speak to that. You know what I'm saying? the ignorance of within society, the possibility of what this ignorance may bring. Oh my God, anarchy! Alright, Max Morrow alert. That's the channel. If y'all wanna go check it out yourselves, y'all can go check it. Yeah, if y'all wanna go check it out without me, shit. I don't know. I wasn't invited and shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, let's get into it.
To be governed
is
to be watched, inspected, spied upon, directed.
No, hold on.
Law-driven, numbered.
Bro, I feel like, you know, as a government, you know what I'm saying? Okay, opening remarks. These are the opening remarks. I might yap a lot, so you might just want to maybe, you know, skip ahead. I don't know how long. But, you know, opening remarks, bro, to govern people, right? Trying to oversee people, right? To a certain extent, we are overseeing. We are maintaining some sort of law, order, you know what I'm saying, among the people, so that civilization can commence, right? Like civilized natures to the human aspect, right? Those can like come forth and we can all just live with one another. And in order for you to do that, you need all these details, brother. You need, you know what I'm saying? You need to be watching them. You need to be just like counting them. You know what I'm saying? Statisticalize. Oh my God, statisticalize. Yes, to build statistics and build a framework of the people you govern. You feel me? Tally up the things, do your homework, keep watch, you know what I'm saying? That's part of like the responsibility, I would say, right? My bad.
Regulated, enrolled, indoctrinated, preached at, controlled,
all of that.
Checked, estimated, valued, censored, commanded by creatures who have neither the right nor the wisdom nor the virtue to do so.
Ooh,
to be governed is to be at every operation, at every transaction, noted, registered, counted, taxed, stamped, measured, numbered, assessed, licensed, authorized, admonished, prevented, forbidden, reformed, corrected, punished. It is under pretext of public utility and in the name of the general interest to be placed under contribution, drilled, fleeced, exploited, monopolized, extorted from, squeezed, hoaxed, robbed, then at the slightest resistance, the first word of complaint, to be repressed, fined, vilified, harassed, hunted down, abused, clubbed, disarmed,
See what the fuck they was doing to that girl, bro? What?
bound, choked, imprisoned, judged, condemned, shot, deported, sacrificed, sold, betrayed, and to crown all, mocked, ridiculed, derided, outraged, dishonored. That is government. That is its justice. That is its morality.
Nice. Damn, he gave one hell of a definition. He gave one hell of an expression there to his definition. Golly. Damn, brother. I only said, yo, the government just oversees motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? You had to write a whole essay, man. I feel you, though.
I've been really engaged in politics for close to a decade now.
Why?
But in all that time, there's one political philosophy I've never given the proper chance.
What's up?
Anarchism. Now
Let's
look,
go.
as someone who spent way too much time on the internet, I've obviously seen people describe themselves as anarchists or anarcho-communists, and they've got their cute little flag on their Twitter profile picture, but if I'm being totally honest, it's all just seemed a little unserious to me. For the most part, I've just associated anarchism with, well, what everyone associates anarchism with.
What is that?
Violence, chaos, riots, satanic rock music, graffiti.
Rebellion. Looting. Boom. The Purge.
And perhaps worst of all, the Joker.
Yep. Oh, yeah. That Joker movie, especially at the end, it's a clear visualization of just like, oh yes.
Anarchy.
Not gonna lie, if your average layman's understanding of my political philosophy was limited to that single scene from The Dark Knight and fucking 9 gag quotes, I'd probably do something very drastic to myself. For as long as anarchists have been writing and organizing, they've had to deal with this negative stigma around the term anarchy in the pursuit of political legitimacy. Seriously, just have a look at what Emma Goldman was writing over 116 years ago. Anarchism represents to the unthinking what the proverbial bad man does to the child. A black monster bent on swallowing everything, in short, destruction and violence. It's been an uphill battle for these guys.
Basically, that's when the human gets in touch with his primal nature. Right? Yeah, that's when you just like go wild and, you know, go crazy and, you know what I'm saying, just be an animal. You know what I mean? Just let all those natures run wild. Right?
And as I've discovered in the process of writing and researching this video, it's a shame that this is how most people see anarchism. At least in my view, it's a political philosophy with an extremely rich intellectual history that has a lot to teach us about the world today. You know, even if the writings of Peter Kropotkin don't turn you into a mask-wearing, Molotov-slinging, insurrectionary anarchist, I still think there's enormous value to be gained from some of the ideas here. And so, that's what we're here to take a look at today. What is anarchism? What do they stand for and against? How would society even function? And has it ever worked in history? These are all very important questions with rather complex answers, but as long as you walk away from this video in like an hour and a half, understanding that there's more to anarchism than just Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight, you're further along than like 99% of people. But okay, the most logical place to start with anarchism is with the etymology of the term itself. And fortunately for us, it's pretty straightforward. In ancient Greek, the term an means without, and the term archos means chief or ruler. If you smack them together, that's how you end up with anarchy, aka without ruler, or the absence of rulers. And look, as much as it is an unfair characterization, that etymology does come off a little bit childish. I wouldn't be surprised if your mind immediately went to some entitled little toddler screaming, "I don't care about the rules," as their mum's like dragging them to their cot for their early afternoon nap. Obviously, if your political philosophy resembles that mental image in any capacity, it's going to be a little challenging to win hearts and minds. However, as any anarchist will be extremely quick to inform you today, the idea of no rulers doesn't mean no rules. This is by far the single biggest misconception surrounding anarchism, as most people simply view it as a synonym for the term chaos. You know,
no rulers doesn't necessarily mean no rules, but then who brings the rules? You know what I'm saying? Like, isn't the word rules a derivative from ruler? I don't know. Because somebody has to come through and bring the rules, bruh. Is what I'm saying, right? Somebody got to be the Moses. You know what I'm saying? Pull up with what has to happen, bruh. Like, you got to know like what's up, like, you know? Somebody got to do it.
If things are in a state of anarchy, our mind is immediately going to a scene from Mad Max Fury Road, not some perfectly peaceful and organized farming commune. But, to quote Pierre-Joseph Proudhon, the first person to label himself as an anarchist all the way back in the 1840s, as man seeks justice in equality, so society seeks order in anarchy. As we'll soon discover, anarchists have a lot of criticisms for the idea of government, but that doesn't mean they're advocating for a world of chaos and disorder. In fact, you don't have to look any further than the symbol for anarchism itself to understand why. As you can see here, the letter A obviously represents anarchy, but it's engulfed with a big letter O, which represents order. These two ideals are deeply intertwined, and sure,
I almost thought that was like Avengers or some shit. Boom. Alright, my bad.
It might be true that the French artist who designed the symbol back in the 1960s has gone on record saying that there isn't any deeper meaning to the—
What the fuck, man? It's just like, who designed it? This is just the letter A. Like, this is just the letter A, bro. Like, unless you're telling me he came up with the alphabet, bro. It's just a goddamn letter A, brother, with a circle around it. Chill, bruh. It's like probably, you know, people that maybe meat ride the person that designed the Japan flag. Like, you know, like there's no like meat riding needed there, bruh. Like, this shit is just like a red dot on the thing. Red dot. Red eye. Red eye. Just a red dot, brother. Chill.
The symbol, but my English teacher said there's meaning to be found in everything, so we're running with it. Now, unfortunately, the moment we move past the mere etymology of anarchism is the moment that we run into a few issues. As it turns out, anarchism is more of an umbrella term, which, yes, does have some general overriding principles, but there's such a diverse and wide range of thought that it can make it kind of hard to comprehend. Just for reference, we've got egoist anarchism, green anarchism, anarcho-communism, collectivist anarchism, anarcho-syndicalism, insurrectionary anarchism, libertarian socialism, anarcho-transhumanism, mutualism, illegalism, anarcho-feminism, cyber anarchism, anarchism, and the people's champion, anarcho-primitivism. Shout out to my eco-terrorist goat, Ted Kaczynski. And look, whilst there might be some overlap between a green anarchist and an anarcho-feminist, a mutualist who advocates for a form of market socialism is fundamentally incompatible with an anarcho-communist who wants to do away with the concept of markets entirely and distribute goods according to necessity. To quote my favorite Epstein affiliate, Noam Chomsky, there have been many styles of thought and action that
What the hell?
have been referred to as anarchists. It would be hopeless to try to encompass all of these conflicting tendencies in some general theory or ideology. And look, whilst Chomsky is definitely right that some general theory of anarchism would be impossible, I think there is one core value which unites all these different schools of thought together.
Oh, brother. Damn, because I thought you was going you was gonna go through every single aspect of those anarchical whatevers. You know what I'm saying? Those what do they call that? the small versions, the mini versions. I thought you was gonna go through all of that. Give us the general. Thank you.
Freedom. To quote anarchist author Peter Gelderloos,
freedom. At anarchism's heart is a simple and convincing proposition. People know how to live their own lives and organize themselves better than any expert could. Exactly.
Anarchism's heart is a simple and convincing proposition. People know how to live their own lives and organize themselves better than any expert could. This is the core tenet which all of anarchism comes back to. People should be free. They should be free to choose who they decide to become. They should be free to choose how they present themselves to the world. They should be free to choose what they contribute to the common good, and they should be free to choose who they associate with.
Oh my god, okay, now we reach that dilemma that we're here to discuss, ladies and gentlemen. Golly. Think about it, bro. If, like, I think to a certain extent the world has accommodated a whole bunch of, you know, like different ideas from groups of people, collectives of people, pockets of people, however. You feel what I'm saying? But then now you get, oh my, you get to politicize the whole thing once we do that, right? Like the politics of the land just like escalate, you know what I'm saying, in terms of the dynamics that we, you know what I mean, we get to see. Like, for example, man, you know, the whole thing where, you know, gay rights, but now, you know, now society was opening up so that the gay minds can like have their way. Okay, cool. There's people who think freely, there's people who think traditionally, you know what I'm saying? People who are really religious, strictly religious, people who are, you know what I'm saying, people who practice their religions respectively, their different religions respectively, you feel what I'm saying, all the way to yeah, I don't know when it comes to Satanism, you know what I'm saying. I heard that one was still illegal to like practice, I don't know, and for obvious reasons. Hey, let me not get into, but these things, they exist. And now with presenting, you know, freedom, being like, yo, y'all can be free, it's like a whole lot of these ideas can clash with one another, especially when we are, we actually live in a land more than ever where you see a whole lot of people's expression to not let the other exist because of the fact that they are different, they are other. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it were up to people, a whole lot of people wouldn't exist. You understand what I'm saying? And so therefore, it's tricky, man. It becomes like a tricky kind of situation where it's like, okay, the right thing is to present everybody with freedom, but is that really the right thing? This freaking topic is kind of layered, bruh. Let me not, because now I'm gonna get into other rabbit holes. Let me let Buddy finish first.
To borrow the words of Emma Goldman, only in freedom can man grow to his full stature. Only in freedom will he learn to think and move and give the very best in him. Only in freedom will he realize the true force of the social bonds which knit men together and which are the true foundation.
Okay, now look, the whole freedom thing, right? The whole freedom thing in terms of, you know, what I was explaining now, you know what I mean? Subjectively it makes sense. Subjectively, yes, like everybody should, and I feel like everybody does have the space to you know, experience their own freedom, you know, experience their own selves, their own identity through their freedom, you know what I'm saying, to do so. You know what I mean? But then it's like, subjectively though, You know what I'm saying? Not everybody's religious, is my point. It's like subjectively, because now you get minds that want to convince other people, you know what I'm saying, to think like them. And we're not in the business of convincing, right? I hope anarchism covers that, right? I hope it addresses that.
Of a normal social life. For an anarchist, freedom is the foundational precondition for human flourishing. Without it, people can't develop their own mental faculties, they're relying on others to tell them what to think and what to do, and ultimately, they just can't dictate the terms of their own life, which suffocates potential. For example, when artists had to conform to Stalin's doctrine of socialist realism, which only permitted art that glorified life in the Soviet Union, he basically put a hard cap on the full range of human creativity and our potential as a byproduct. Like sure, no one is saying that this painting of Lenin doesn't go insanely fucking hard, but it's just not a truly authentic representation of the artist and their full creative potential. Now, it's also important to note that anarchists conceptualize freedom in terms of both positive and negative liberty.
Okay, before we go to the positives and negatives, I just want to co-sign the point that you were making, actually, with regards to saying that freedom does let you get in touch with, what you've mentioned, you know what I'm saying, like who you really are. And, with me, I can, my small little story that doesn't even matter, but you're on my channel, so you about to hear all of them. Sit down and let me, allow me to let you know that, yeah, when I, left my mama's basement, you feel me? Like, okay, we didn't have a basement at home, just like when I left my mama's house, right? Well, I left my mom's house, bro, like, I feel like it was the most necessary thing, but it was something I literally feared it, bro. Like, I was scared of it. You know what I'm saying? I was I wanted to latch onto the nest, for longer. And then, until nature just had to remind me that, yo, nah, it's over with. But then, you know what I'm saying? That whole transition was hard, therefore. But then, being by myself, like, yo, I've tapped into aspects of myself where, being with the old folks, being with the authority, right? Being with my parents, the government, right? Like, there's certain things you cannot express. There's certain aspects of you that you keep hidden. And until you just, like, fly away from the nest, you feel what I'm saying? Only then you can experience yourself fully. You know what I'm saying? Because for as long as you're under their surveillance or whatever, yeah, there's certain things you cannot be absolutely free, bruh. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not like you can like bring the whole hood and come, host a what's that, Project X type party like in your mama's house and smash every girl that you had a crush on, like, in your mama's bedroom, and do as you know what I'm saying? But in your, at your own spot, you can. You feel what I'm saying? It's just like simple, trivial things like that. It's just a simple little example, but yeah, bro, I feel you on that one type shit.
If you don't know, negative liberty is basically the idea that we should be free from external interference and obstacles, whereas positive liberty is the idea that people need resources and opportunities to actualize their potential.
Negative what?
And negative liberty. If you don't know, negative liberty is basically the idea that we should be free from external interference and obstacles, whereas positive liberty is the idea that people need resources and opportunities to actualize their potential in the first place.
So be governed. So positive liberty is like being governed. Because you get those. Okay.
If we go back to our example of the Soviet artists, not only should they be free from some arbitrary creative doctrine imposed by a despot, i.e. negative liberty, they should also have the opportunity to cultivate their talents in the first place with all the necessary resources, i.e. positive liberty. That means they would have had access to brushes, canvases, different types of paints, and an art.
See what I'm saying? Access to that. Who gives the access to that? Who gives the access to that? Your father, the government, duh. Okay, now that was too far. That was too much. My fault.
A teacher who could guide them along the way. Without both of these forms of liberty, an anarchist wouldn't consider somebody to be truly free. Now, this belief in the idea of positive liberty puts anarchists in direct opposition to the modern libertarian movement, which is solely fixated on the idea of negative liberty. Whilst they're all for cutting taxes, legalizing drugs, and, well, lowering the age of consent, libertarians couldn't care less about providing people with the opportunities they need to succeed in the first place. If you lived in a libertarian's idealized society and were born into poverty through no fault of your own, that's just tough luck, buddy. You're just never going to get the same chance to actualize your potential like the kid born on the other side of town into a rich family. Now, with all that being said, there's an important caveat to how anarchists understand freedom. To actualize the type of positive liberty which allows every individual the opportunity to flourish and develop themselves, well, that requires the cooperation of the community at large. To quote Zoe Baker, anarchism's central ethical value is that individuals should lead free lives. Although anarchists focus on the freedom of the individual, they do not conceptualize this freedom in terms of an isolated, abstract entity who stands outside of society. For anarchists, an individual can, given the kind of animal that humans are, only be free if they belong to a community of equals, bonded together through relations of solidarity. Anarchists view the values of freedom, equality, and solidarity as interdependent, such that they cannot be understood.
Hold on. Anarchists viewed the values of freedom, equality, and solidarity as interdependent, such that they cannot be understood in isolation from one another. The realization of one of these values can only be achieved through the realization of all three at once.
In isolation from one another. The realization of one of these values can only be achieved through the realization of all three at once. Or, to borrow the slightly more poetic language of Mikhail Bakunin, society, far from decreasing his freedom.
So what, you cannot be an anarchist by yourself? Is that what you're saying? Like, it's something that's coined, you know, on a collective of people. So it's a collective now, you know what I'm saying?
On the contrary, creates
an anarchy of people. Oh my god, wait. I think that kind of makes sense. It rings off the tongue pretty decent. I'm not gonna lie.
The individual freedom of all human beings. Society is the root, the tree, and liberty is its fruit. So yes, whilst anarchists are deeply concerned with the freedom of the individual, they also recognize the type of species we are. To put it simply, we Homo sapiens don't exist as these atomized units who are entirely self-sufficient, and we start to lose our fucking minds if we're separated from our fellow man and woman for too long. This is because, by nature, we are deeply cooperative and social beings who rely on one another to flourish, and any conception of individual freedom must be rooted in that understanding. If it isn't, that's how we end up veering into libertarian thought and its way of thinking about things wrongly. So,
and that's how we get to fall in love with freaking AI. Boom. What? I ain't gonna lie, man. Talk about it. What? Hell yeah, you lose that human touch, it's over.
Now that we understand what anarchists are for, we just have to flip everything we learned on its head to understand what they're against. Essentially, what is the exact opposite of all people being free and equal? Well, as any anarchist would be quick to tell you, that would be domination and hierarchy. Any system which allows one person to subjugate another person or group of people is simply a non-starter for anarchists. If you've got somebody sitting atop a hierarchy in an immense position of power who can basically force other people to do things against their will under the threat of coercion, well, that's just fundamentally incompatible with the principle of all people being free and equal. Now, just to be abundantly clear, although anarchists are definitely against the type of authority which allows one person to compel others to do things against their will, they are definitely not against the type of authority which comes along with competency and expertise. To quote Bakunin once again, does it follow that I reject all authority? Far from me such a thought. In the matter of
So not all authority is bad authority, according to the anarchist.
of boots, I refer to the authority of the bootmaker. Concerning houses, canals, or railroads, I consult that of the architect or the engineer. But I allow neither the bootmaker, nor the architect, nor savant to impose his authority upon me. I listen to them freely and with all the respect merited by their intelligence, their character, their knowledge, reserving always my incontestable right of criticism.
But do you comply to their you know, to their ways of just like them utilizing you and using you, and you know what I'm saying, for just, how can I put this, for their agenda, right? Basically taking you away from your anarchist ideas. You feel me? I listen to them freely and with all the respect merited by the intelligence, their character, their knowledge. Or is it a matter of like you negotiate the whole time? Like, yes, I hear you, brother, but wait, there is this to it, da da da, and then you present your counter arguments and shit.
And censor. I do not content myself with consulting a single authority in any special branch. I consult several, I compare their opinions, and choose that which seems to me.
So second, third, fourth opinion type guy. Can't make up your mind ass type nigga.
The soundest. We obviously want to live in a society where there are highly trained doctors and engineers who excel at the things they do, and anarchists literally have no problem with this whatsoever. It would only become problematic if, I don't know, the best physician in town was recommending you like a certain type of surgery, and then at the end they were like, and if you don't get this knee replacement, I'm gonna beat you to death with a club. It's at that point where merit and expertise becomes a justification for coercive force that anarchists would be throwing up a big red flag.
Yeah.
Or I guess a black flag would probably make more sense. But okay, this is all just hierarchy in an abstract and conceptual sense. When it comes to the real world, what are the actual systems of hierarchy and domination which anarchists want to dismantle? Well, unsurprisingly, that's a pretty long list. But if I had to pick out the two most prominent examples which basically unite all anarchists together, it would be the state and capitalism. Good news to all 10 of you that watch these videos.
Yes.
We've got a bit of an upgrade this year.
Number 11, buddy. Nah, I just bumped into your channel like right now. Alright, my fault. Let me look. There you go. Right? That kind of counts, right?
See that? It's like magic. Alright,
nice,
this is where things start to get a little more interesting. Before we properly kick things off, I want to start this section with a very important note. From the anarchist perspective, the state and capitalism are inseparable. These guys are two peas in an oppressive pod, and this is something which...
Well, in the West, right? We gotta clarify that, in the West. But obviously, you know what I'm saying, that model of the West influenced the rest of the world so much that, you know, damn near the rest of the world, you know, lives that way, right? It's like their government and capitalism is inseparable. I don't think that's supposed to be that way. Like, as in, the private sector govern the people of your country type. So basically, government be, you know, whatever, you know, the role players of whatever stock exchange that you got going. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then amongst those chairpersons or chair people, they pick a president. A president. Okay.
Anarchists have been painfully aware of for a while. To quote Peter Kropotkin all the way back in 1903. Furthermore, the state and capitalism are, in our opinion, inseparable concepts. In history, these institutions develop side by side, mutually supporting and reinforcing each other. They're bound together, not by a mere coincidence of contemporaneous development, but by the bond of cause and effect and cause. Capitalism, i.e. the economic system we all live under, in which the means of production are privately owned and used to generate a profit, is reliant on the state for protection. According to anarchists, if it wasn't for the police, courts, and prisons, all institutions which uphold private property, then capitalism wouldn't be able to function. Think about it like this. If you had some ultra-rich segment of the population sitting on their Scrooge McDuck pile of coins, whilst everyone else in society is impoverished and there's no police to call or courts to enforce laws, the workers aren't just gonna sit around twiddling their thumbs all day doing nothing. Because they massively outnumber the rich, they're gonna organize themselves and take whatever they want.
Go loot all that shit, that's mine. Stole that shit. Hell yeah! Oh damn! Oh Max. Nah, you cooking. I see it. Yeah, because if it, you know what I'm saying, if it wasn't for the police, these rich ass, you know what I'm saying, they wouldn't even be like flashy about their stuff, right? People would like have money, but then not even show because, yo, I could take it from you. Like nothing's gonna stop me. There's no police that you gonna call. Right?
Want without any fear of legal repercussions. Then, on the other end of the table, we've also got the state, which depends on capitalism. Because the owning class creates a lot of wealth, that also means they create a lot of tax revenue, which the state depends on for their governance of society. On top of that, having the support of economic elites legitimizes the state as an institution and its coercive authority, as wealth directly translates into power. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is that you can think of the state and capitalism like those little birds which sit on water buffaloes. The bird gets a tasty meal by eating all the parasites carrying disease, and the water buffalo, well, it doesn't get sick as a byproduct. This is a symbiotic relationship in which both parties mutually benefit from the other's existence. And I mean, hell, you don't need to look much further than the United States today to understand what anarchists are getting at. Musk donated close to $300 million to Trump's 2024 campaign and temporarily gained a position in government. Lobbyists from insurance and pharmaceutical companies have spent billions to prevent meaningful reform on healthcare. And I mean, fuck, you basically had over $1 trillion of wealth sitting front row at Trump's inauguration last year. To quote Noam Chomsky, in the real world, state policy is largely determined by those groups that command resources, ultimately by virtue of their ownership and management of the private economy or their status as wealthy professionals. The major decision-making positions in the executive branch of the government are typically filled by representatives of major corporations, banks and investment firms, a few law firms that cater primarily to corporate interests, and thus represent the broad interests of owners and managers rather than some parochial interest. Like seriously, I feel like we all know about the revolving door of politics in which elected representatives immediately move to become some lobbyist or leader of industry the second they lose their seat. For example, here in Australia, our former treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, was voted out in 2022 and then immediately became the chair of Goldman Sachs Australia. The former Premier of New South Wales, Dominic Perrottet, resigned in 2024 and immediately took up a position with BHP in Washington. And hell,
Like, you go from government to like a powerful position in just like the private sector. Well, shit, a respected position in the private sector. Golly.
Last Prime Minister Scott Morrison, that guy who shit himself in a McDonald's for international viewers,
Whoa.
he's been floating around a few lovely advisory positions.
Wait. Why did he do that though? He what himself?
Resigned in 2024 and immediately took up a position with BHP in Washington. And hell, our last Prime Minister Scott Morrison, that guy who shit himself in a McDonald's for international viewers, he's been floating around a few lovely advisory positions between Saudi oil companies and defense consultants. As Kropotkin said, these two concepts are inseparable. But okay, let's get a little more specific. What exactly do anarchists oppose when it comes to the state? Well, to put it simply, the state is just one massive hierarchy. Power is centralized in the hands of a few.
Nah, hold on, man. I feel like before we even get into that, y'all know what time it is, man. Word from the sponsors, fast.
Right before the fall, and now it's just over.